In the 3rd century, during the gloomy, tyrannical reign of Emperor Decius, the city of Ephesus was gripped by a great persecution of Christians. It was a time of hiding, a time of despair, a time when the fear of man led many to betray their friends, their family, and their God. But in this moment, a crisis, a story of profound courage was written by 7 young soldiers, childhood friends who served in the Roman army.
These men, Maximian, Malchus, Martinian, Dionysius, Serapion, Constantinus, and John, were secret followers of Christ. Denounced for their faith, they were stripped of their rank and given time to renounce Christ in front of the emperor, or else. They used this time, however, not to reconsider, but to prepare. They gave all their wealth to the downtrodden and retreated to a cave on Mount Alclon to pray and prepare for their looming martyrdom. Upon his return, Emperor Decius discovered their hiding place and, in his fury, ordered the mouth of the cave to be sealed with great stones, condemning them to be buried alive. But the good Lord, in his infinite wisdom, caused the 7 youths to fall into a deep and miraculous sleep. Nearly 200 years passed. The Roman Empire had changed from a mass persecutory environment to the faithful into a Christian kingdom under Emperor Theodosius II. In this new age, however, a new danger had emerged, a heresy that denied the physical resurrection of the dead. It was to combat this grave error that God worked another miracle. A landowner opening the cave to build a cattle pen unknowingly broke the seal, causing the 7 youths to awake. Believing they had slept only for a day, Malchus, the youngest, went into the city to buy bread. He was astonished to see crosses adorning the city gates and the people speaking openly of Jesus Christ. Upon having his ancient coins draw interest from the market, he was brought before the city's bishop. Recognizing the hand of God, the bishop asked Malchus to bring him to the cave and show him Malchus's brothers. To the bishop's astonishment, they found the other 6, as well as a sealed plaque that explained their story. The 7 sleepers then appeared before Emperor Theodosius himself, a living testament to the resurrection. Having served their divine purpose, they returned to the cave where they peacefully died, committing their souls to God and leaving their bodies within that earthly home of stone.
Welcome to this episode of the Watchmen Podcast. This one's a little bit different, but
They're all different if
well,
you think about it.
So this one we're talking about time travel and all the different variations it comes in, time slips, elongated sleep, all that kind of stuff.
And John.
And John,
Yeah. Poor guy. Mm. So, hot take, John was actually a time traveler from, like, the 2000s. And he time traveled back to Rome.
And then time traveled again forward to... Yeah. So, a funny thing is that we don't hear about the people falling asleep for 200 years and that being a sort of time travel that really doesn't happen anymore. Those kind of stories, I mean, they don't show up. I don't know when the last time I've heard one.
That was the first story I've ever heard like that.
Yeah, it's very interesting how that works. Also, I want to read this. This is about the legitimacy of the story. Quote, regarding its historical validity, archaeological and literary evidence suggests that the story is based on a historical event, but is embellished with miraculous elements. Scholarly research indicates that around the middle of the 5th century, 7 young Ephesians claimed to have been persecuted during the Decian persecution, and that a church was built at the traditional site of their cave in Ephesus. This supports the idea that the story may have been rooted in well-attested historical fact. However, the miraculous aspects cannot be verified and are considered part of the legend. The story has been used to affirm the belief in resurrection in Christian orthodoxy, and is also mentioned in Islamic tradition with some variations, such as the inclusion of the dog guarding the sleepers. So, yeah, this story is in the Quran. It's Surah Al-Kahf, chapter 18.
Wait a minute, did you go to the Quran for your stories? Hold up.
Surah Al-Kahf, chapter 18. And, yeah. It's a little bit different, but It's not where the story. It's not where the story comes from. I want to get that out there. It's just another. It's a story that Muhammad stole because.
Fair enough. He steals everything.
Yeah, he's an illiterate, caravan robber.
Heck yeah. I don't know if do we have any housekeeping notes? That was earlier in our thing. I guess just the usual. Please comment, like, share. Hopefully by this time we have a decent amount of listeners. Please rate and review the show. That also helps us out.
We got 6 of those so far.
We are maintaining a full 5-star review, so please leave us a 5-star review. Go follow us on YouTube, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and again...
Apple Music coming soon.
Yeah, hopefully by the time you're listening to this, I'll have it set up on Apple Music, and that'll pretty much be all... We'll have it on pretty much all platforms. So whichever platform you like better, subscribe. Or just subscribe on all of them because, it helps us out that way. So definitely follow us, share with everybody you know. Really helps us out. We'd like to grow the show, and we have good things planned, but we need more people to listen, and we need more support. We'll hopefully be launching a Patreon this off-season. That was originally going to come earlier, but we don't have time for that. Nah. So that's going to come this off-season. After Season 1 is done, we have some great topics for the rest of Season 1. So also, if you want to sponsor us, we could use some sponsors.
Well, we're open to suggestions.
We're kind of broke, and it would help to have... it would help to have some sponsorships. We will plug you.
Yeah.
Give a plug for your business. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or even just you personally.
Or just you personally. I know Blake did this. We have a plug for Jordan in the description of every episode. If you are a single woman, age 20 to 25, call Jordan. I can give you his phone number.
Yep.
Or if you're like aged 18 to 21, give me a call. I'd be grateful too. Ben is shaking his head. Oh man. Okay. With that, let's continue on with the show.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think? I wonder if it's a mostly true story.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Personally, I like to imagine that he actually was a time traveler. He actually did go, and then he got there. Really did wake up 200 years later, and then he's introduced himself, and he's like, "Hey guys, like, where am I?" And all these people are like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm John," and they're like, "John, your name is John."
The
like,
Baptist.
John. Who? And he's
like,
like,
no.
just John. No,
Just John.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Just John? Well, yeah, I don't know. There are stories of like this happening to Christians to escape persecution or whatever. Them sleeping for 200 years is a little odd. Usually there's other ways that they escape persecution. It's not outside the realm of possibility, I mean.
Yeah.
But...
They couldn't have done that in the 1940s? Slept for 200 years?
Okay, low-key though, this is how I imagined hibernation.
Yeah.
We talked about in the the first Bermuda Triangle episode, how hibernation is like not a thing.
Yeah.
And we were all like, what? We never knew that, but...
Yeah, like they don't actually sleep the entirety of winter time.
Yeah.
This is how I imagine hibernation. They just fall asleep for 200 years and wake up. And be
That's
like,
why we need to talk to Jordan more often. Well, there was another story also that I'm not dedicating an entire segment to because it's pretty short, but this is the gist. There was a story about this man named Andrew Carlson, which I think is funny because that's Zach's boss is Andrew Carlson.
So my boss is a time traveler?
Well, a fake time traveler. The story is that he started getting investigated for insider trading because in a matter of 2 weeks he made huge amounts of more money than he put into the stock market. He took out in 2 weeks, and so they were questioning him about how he did that, and they're planning to arrest him. And he just said that he was a time traveler, and that's how he knew what to put his money into, and that's how he got the maximum gains. But it turns out this story was completely fabricated. It was published in some tabloid paper called the Weekly World News, and that paper often ran his fictional, outlandish, satirical, or sensationalized stories, and this one was no exception. But somehow it made it into the mainstream, and everyone, or many, many people know the story, and assumed it was fact, and it was pretty funny.
Wait, so did he just actually randomly make a bunch of money then?
No.
Or was the entire thing?
It's completely invented, I think.
That's funny.
I couldn't find any other, I couldn't figure out where it spiraled, at least.
You know, I watched a documentary on this once called Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah. Is that like that other documentary, Jurassic Park?
Yeah, Jurassic Park, Back to the Future. What was the one?
Star Wars.
Oh, no.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
All solid documentaries.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's funny. They just made it up. We should look up the Weekly. Is the Weekly World News like coast to coast radio?
I don't
Of
think
TV.
Oh. That would be funny, though.
That would be.
I didn't look into them very much. I'll have to.
Yeah.
Another funny thing, or well, not funny, but a very important note about this entire show is that there are basically zero, or there's literally zero reports of stories which include the modern understanding of time travel, as in a machine or tool that uses time manipulation, makes you go backward or forward in time. None of that happened until, or there were no stories about it, until 1895, which is when H.G. Wells published his novel, The Time Machine. Before that, H.G. Wells wrote a short story, like 6 years before that, and around that same time there were a couple other people who wrote short stories. But that was it. And then before that, there was nothing.
So there's like no time travel
Not
before that at all.
Yeah, nothing with time machines at least, or time tools. But the elongated sleeps and time slips, those kind of things did happen.
There was a... Have you seen that picture from like the Renaissance where the guy is holding an iPhone?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a... Well, I didn't put the segment in the show, but we can talk about that.
I was just going to bring it up.
Yeah, I looked into those too.
iPad kid right there.
It's like a young woman, though.
Oh.
I think.
Well, so there's like several different...
You know she's texting and driving too.
There's several different ones. So this is one from World War II. Oh my gosh. The quality is not fantastic. But it's this guy talking on a cell phone in World War II, which they didn't have like mobile phones back then.
Mm-hmm.
That's just from World War II.
Turns out he's schizophrenic. That's a granola bar.
He's just doing it to tweak with him. This is like the popular one right here.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Although I feel like, okay, that's a painting. What if it's just a badly drawn like hairbrush? Like seriously though, because that one is just so for the listeners who don't have a visual. They couldn't get like where the face is oriented on the head right. What if they just couldn't draw a hairbrush with that much detail? And that was just supposed to be a comb, but now we're all like, oh, it's a smartphone.
Yeah, it's like 350 years old, painted by Peter de Hooch in the 17th century. He was a Dutch artist.
We will leave descriptions in the link, like the links.
Yeah, I'll
The
post
pictures.
the picture
in the show notes.
Post, yeah, so for those of you...
There's another one with a guy in a T-shirt in 1950.
Yeah, that was the one. It's like a black and white picture in like Times Square or whatever, but he's in like a T-shirt and a baseball cap.
And he has a small camera.
Yeah, and he's got like this little camera. Yeah.
Time traveler for sure.
There's another one of it was a background actor in Charlie Chaplin movie.
Ah,
solid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
so
yeah, that was just another random thing.
Right,
I thought.
but I can answer. Well, I don't. Well, maybe not that one painting, but there's another painting where it looks like this girl is holding an iPhone, but that one, scholars think that it was just a prayer book, and she was looking at the prayer book. And then with the one with the Charlie Chaplin and the guy holding the thing to his ear, and there's a bunch of other ones about the guy or people holding things to their ears. that look like iPhones. People think that those are actually early hearing aids.
How autistic do you have to be to hold up a hearing aid in public? Like, what's up? I'm deaf, guys.
You just have to be deaf, Zach. That's not autism.
Yeah.
You just have to be deaf.
Those are different things.
Most
Yeah,
most
those
deaf
are not
people
the
are autistic, right? Right.
No.
Anyway.
Most of them are like old.
So
But also,
I'm
you
not
gotta
gonna-
remember there was a war where they were shooting 50 cals
That's
like
fair.
with no hearing protection,
Yeah.
and then when you go back to your great aunt Sue and she's like, "Good morning, honey," ain't no way you're gonna be hearing her. It's just, you got a tank blasted like 6 inches from your ear.
That's
last
fair.
week.
Mm.
You're not gonna be bouncing back from that.
Mm.
So
No, definitely not.
So with the fact that there are no time machine stories before 1895, does that lend more credibility to the elongated sleeps and that they've been around since at least 500 AD?
The elongated sleeps.
I don't know what else to call them.
The shuffling of slipper feet. Oh man.
like a herd of like a
Army of leprechauns.
an army
Impoverished leprechauns?
No.
Impoverished shoemakers.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Deep cut right there.
Really?
Go back and listen to our other episodes
Mm-hmm.
if you don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. As far as time travel, I think it's always possible, I guess. I mean, weird stuff does happen. We were talking about that in the Bermuda Triangle episode. But I think more realistically, there's probably like just a naturalist explanation. Especially for the photos. As far as like, I don't know. Is there any evidence that he's actually from, besides that like he was a little weird and he looked a little weird? Is there any actual evidence that, or like in any other stories that
Don't know.
that said that he was from? No. So he just showed up one day and people are like, "Oh, you look weird."
I think
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
So we're gonna start calling all nerds time travelers now.
Another funny thing is about how H.G. Wells started the whole thing, is there's another theory that H.G. Wells is a time traveler himself, and that's why he invented this idea of modern time travel and time machines and tools. And so the story of the time machine that he wrote is actually just a true story of himself going through time. So that's a story that does exist.
Wait, so like, is he actually confirmed a time travel?
That's what they say. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
I wonder if that's like not necessarily related to time travel, but we see that kind of with like other things, like the Mothman, or where we see like them being from the future or whatever, and they'll give you like, and they'll show up with technology that's like just above the level of what we have.
Mm.
And that's what makes us believe them as like an alien or whatever.
Right.
So, a hot take, this H.G. Wells guy is actually an alien,
Oh.
and that's why he's doing the whole thing. Because that is fairly common with the with like the Mothman people or whatever, is they'll, or just any alien encounters, that they show up with technology that's just a little bit ahead of ours,
Right.
and then in like 50 years or whatever, now we have that technology, so then they come up with a new technology.
Yeah.
So it could just be part of that as well.
That would make sense. I didn't think about that. Alright, well, actually, one last note before we go to the next story. Due to the nature of time travel, if there is a time machine in one time, then there can be a time machine in all the times, which therefore you have to have a huge amount of regulations on time machines in the future when they have time machines, because otherwise there's time machines in all time. And then
Bro just went from 2D to 8D.
Yeah.
He's playing the 8D chess here.
so
That's... Dang.
right?
It's kind of insane. Because, yeah, if you had a time machine, you could go to any time you want.
Mm-hmm. And so then you go back then, teach them the technology, and then now there's time travel. Now you've eliminated your original
Advantage.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So the other possibility is that there's huge regulations on it. You can only go to the future and then come back to your time or something like that. Maybe that would work.
Yeah.
Or you have Men in Black going and wiping everyone's memories.
Well, we know the Men in Black are real.
Mm-hmm.
So, them wiping the memory, that's not that. I wouldn't be that shocked.
Yeah. Anyway, Ben, do you want to read the next story?
Yeah, I can read the
If he
story.
can.
This one's pretty short.
If I can. A mere 20 years ago, in 2005, an MIT student named Redacted set up this event, or party, which he called the MIT Time Traveler Convention. The idea was that time travelers in the future would look back through history, see this convention, and then show up to blow the intellectual minds of these young students by MIT. Name Redacted and his friends, who helped organize the event, encouraged the public to publicize the event through long-lasting methods like writing on acid-free paper and slipping it into library books or carving into clay tablets. There were about 450 guests in attendance, including MIT students, professors, and enthusiasts from all across the country. The event included speeches by MIT professors like physicist Alan Guth, music from the bands The Hong Kong Regulars, and the Off-White Noise. They gotta think up of some better band names, guys. This is not good.
I think I'm pretty sure those bands are actually formed by students who go to the MIT. So they're actual.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, they're garage bands.
Okay, that makes sense. But like, imagine being in a concert and being like, "We are the Off-White Noises."
Give it up for the Off-White Noises.
And there was even a DeLorean car on display. This was not just a few dorks in a school event after hours. This was a significant attempt. Yeah, that's debatable. None of the football guys were there. We can prove that.
Yeah.
None of the jocks.
Yeah.
It's all the dorks.
This is not just a few dorks in a school event after hours. This was a significant attempt to invite time travelers. Name Redacted hoped that by publicizing the event to this amount, people from the future would travel back to join the celebration because on top of the clay tablets and the notes in the library books, there was a myriad of promotional emails and advertisements. But when all was said and done, the outcome was that no time travelers attended. In 2009, there was another attempt by Stephen Hawking at the University of Cambridge. He sat alone in his room. Emphasis on sat.
What else was he gonna do? Stand?
And then the day after, he sent out many invitations, seeing if anybody would come. But yet again, nobody showed up.
Okay.
I don't think that's because there's no time travelers. I think that's because nobody wanted to hang out with Stephen. Okay?
Have you seen this is half of the things I have to cut out for me. Have you seen the reel where it's like, yeah, people when they try on other people's glasses, they're like, oh my gosh, you are blind.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
I've
the
seen
wheelchair
that.
one.
It's
where
like,
you
I
take
can't
their
do that. Kind of a
wheelchair.
double standard, isn't it? I can't go up to someone in a wheelchair, push him out of the wheelchair, sit down and go, dang, you really can't walk. Try that next time.
Yeah.
Okay, low-key though, wouldn't it be epic to actually host one of these events?
That'd be dope.
Yes, it would.
Like-
I think we should do it.
Totally. Next
That
Wednesday.
was all of my
Okay.
birthday parties growing up, were just these.
Like you sitting alone in your
I've
room.
hosted 19 to the day.
Heck yeah. Yeah, dude, we should. So, any time travelers that may be listening, come join us. You'll know where to find us, I'm sure.
Yep. So the whole idea of time travelers being able to come, or with the Stephen Hawking sending out invitations after the event in order that time travelers could come to beforehand, and they would be the only ones that could show up. It's all very confusing, because by nature, we exist inside of time, and so it's just incredibly hard to understand and actually wrap our brains around. It's one of the craziest things and one of the incomprehensible things about a god.
The following is straight from an article by The Sun. Mike Markham built a device on his porch in Stanbury, Missouri in early 1995 in a bid to get rich using future lottery-winning numbers. Age 21, as a student in electrical engineering, he started experimenting with a contraption called the Jacob's Ladder. This simple device sees an electric spark jumping back and forth between two parallel wires and appearing to climb up the ladder. As he was messing around with the device, Mike claimed he spotted something unusual. He spotted a circular vortex, so he decided to test the effect by throwing in a metal screw to see what would happen. Mike claimed it vanished into thin air before appearing a few feet away a second later. He believed the metal screw had transported through time and reappeared once he had caught up. He faced a major problem in his experiments. He needed a huge amount of power to make it work. And as he was scaling up work on his so-called time machine, the contraption caught fire. Shocker, because you're running 5 million volts through it and making sparks. He figured if he was going to rebuild the machine, he should use larger transformers to generate higher voltages. What he needed cost $20,000 each, so he decided to break into a local power station and steal 6 old transformers to continue his work. Once he connected the transformers to his Jacob's Ladder, he sparked a mass blackout on the streets in his neighborhood, shutting down the electrical grid for several hours. Cops turned up at his house with a warrant to search his property and arrested him for pinching the transformers. According to reports, Mike told a judge during his trial he was simply trying to find out winning lottery numbers in order to fund a research lab. Mike was released from prison several months later and shot into fame on local radio, telling stories about the disappearing screw and his plans to build a time machine. He was on Art Bell's show, which was often focused on paranormal topics. The Art branded Mike a madman, and he adopted the name. The radio's station website even documents the bizarre story of, quote, Madman Mike. While on air, Madman explained to Art and his listeners how he didn't have any cash or spare parts to continue with his experiments. He shared his phone number on live air and allegedly received non-stop calls for the next 3 days. With his listeners' donations, his next time machine project was bigger and more powerful than the previous one, and hopefully didn't have to steal transformers from the local power station. And he wanted to test the machine on himself by creating an electromagnetic vortex big enough for a human to walk into. He appeared on the radio station a year later and asked what he would take with him into the time machine, and he said he would take only his phone. During his appearance on the show in 1996, he was only 30 days from finishing off his, quote, legal time machine. Then came the Vanishing Act. He suddenly disappeared in 1997 and was never heard from again, leaving him at the center of one of the biggest time travel mysteries. Shortly after he vanished, a listener on the radio show called in to talk about a bizarre story he had found. In the 1930s, the cops found a dead man on a beach in California, the listener said. The man was crushed to death in a strange metal tube, and a mysterious device was found near his body which looked very much like a mobile phone. But the last year, Mike appeared to resurface online, and the rubbished wild claims that he had traveled to the 1930s and died. According to his reports, the local station interviewed him for a third time in 2015. Using the username Real Madman Markham, Mike appeared to post on a blog about paranormal activities in February. The user has been a member of the site since 2015. He wrote, "Rumors are ablazing that I am dead, not well, and have traveled to 1930 somewhere and died in a beach in a tube. Whoever posted those pictures of a redhead, that is also not me. I was with some school kid. It was some school kid with my name that someone long ago attributed to me. Whatever was found in the 1930s was not me, and I've read that. It was debunked and can't find the article." When someone asked whether he'd any new time machine plans in motion, he replied yes, but it is stalled at the moment until I can get some inverters. No shoot. I have some 24-volt panels in my bus for a project. They got a little ratty from sitting outside for a little bit. His followers asked the blog user to prove he's the real Mike Madman, but so far he's offered no evidence of his true identity. It remains a mystery whether Mike simply changed his name and decided to live a quiet life away from the public eye, or whether his time machine project was truly a success. Only Madman Mike knows the truth.
Well, that's a very interesting story. The question is this man a madman? Is Mike an actual madman?
See, I definitely think it's possible. Like, the whole first, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah.
But we've seen a lot of weird stuff on the channel. So, like, honestly, it's not that weird, all things considered.
Yeah.
Like, he uses, and it seems to make sense. Like, he needs a huge amount of power. That's what we talked about with the Bermuda Triangle episode,
Right.
like with the electronic fog. He needs a huge amount of power. Like, the whole portal for the screw, I don't see how that's impossible. I mean, it's just a Einstein-Rosen bridge, which, again, like we talked about in the Bermuda Triangle episode, like, it's not impossible at all.
No.
You just need enough energy, and I feel
done
like if you're making if all you need to do is make a screw move,
Right,
then
with 6 old Transformers.
I feel like
was it before?
6 Transformers should be enough.
Yeah.
To make a little screw move.
See, I was imagining it though, in that you have the little thing happening, the Jacob's ladder, and then you have a wall behind it, so he throws it, it bounces off the wall, and
Hits
it's like,
him
whoa,
again.
he transported!
And he's just yeah.
Yeah. So this is a moderately well documented story. There are other sources, and you can look at Coast to Coast too, which is the Art Bell's show that he was on.
It's the same guy.
Yeah, Art Bell, Coast to Coast. We might do a Coast to Coast episode or just something, because there's Mel's Hole is also about Coast to Coast, or Coast to Coast is also on Mel's Hole. They're intertwined a little bit. Anyway, there's other places where the story is documented, and not just this one article. So it's pretty interesting. And yeah, like Zach was just saying, it's theoretically possible. It's not incredibly crazy.
I want to be a total believer.
Yeah, we do.
But if he died, and then he went back to the 1930s and got stuck on a tube in a beach. Actually, interestingly, so I didn't look through your notes. Did you have the Philadelphia experiment on here at all?
No, I don't.
So the Philadelphia experiment, for those of you who don't know, it was like a United States Navy. Well, the USS Philadelphia was a ship, and they supposedly put it through like time travel teleportation trials or whatever, and so basically you need massive amounts of energy, and like it's a well documented ship. Whether or not like it was actually used for time travel is a little bit debated, but supposedly they made it time warp, and so it teleported, but when it like came out of the time warp, like the people that were on it were like stuck inside the walls of the ship. And they were like dismembered, and because like the atoms had mixed or whatever, so like the atoms in your body had mixed with the atoms of the ship, and so it was kind of like that. But that if he was like stuck in a metal tube.
Right, and then
did you like look up the story from the 1930s? Like, is there actually like documentation?
I have not. I didn't look into it that very much. No, I couldn't find it.
Interesting. Well, here, keep going. I'll look it up.
Okay. And so then this user who claiming to be Mad Mike shows up and says, no, that 1930s thing, that's not me. Denounces a bunch of these other theories about him, and says, no, he's just kind of still going. He's gonna go and get inverters and then try again, and that's kind of that. Apparently he did go on another radio show, which is hosted by Art Bell, but it's called Midnight in the Desert, which I didn't know we had another show, but apparently it does. So it's interesting. I do wish I looked into this one a little bit more. There's definitely some loose ends to clean up. But on that other show by Art Bell, Midnight in the Desert, Markham claimed that he'd been transported 2 years into the future, 800 miles away from where he was, landing in the next town over called Fairfield, located in Ohio, but suffered from amnesia. While living in a homeless shelter, Markham slowly remembered his name, his social security number, and other memories that enabled him to re-enter society. However, the Missouri State Highway Patrol has no record of him being reported as a missing person. So, allegedly this is the same Mike going on Art Bell's show. Art Bell would know, I would assume. And he doesn't seem like a dishonest guy.
I have heard skeptical things about Art Bell's show.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, do what you gotta do to get listeners, but...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he's just playing the hoax. I don't know. 1996 to 2015 is a big jump.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, so is, like, 1996 to 1930, when he supposedly dies on the beach.
Right. What do you think, Ben?
I think it's possible. What was the name of the ship?
Philadelphia.
Yeah, there you go. The Philadelphia
experiment.
Yeah, I was thinking the
the
Manhattan Project, but that's totally different.
That's
totally
same,
different. But
same
no, same but still, yeah. So the Philadelphia experiment is a really. We should do a full episode or a storage closet on that, because that's a really interesting story.
Yeah.
Where there really isn't like a naturalist explanation of it. Like, something happened. Either it's a complete hoax and nothing happened, or something happened on that.
Something really scary and horrifying.
Yeah, something that should not like something that should not have happened in physics happened in physics on that ship at that time. So yeah, we should definitely come back to that, do a different episode.
Yeah.
As far as time traveling, I think it's possible. Some of them obviously are gonna have like naturalistic explanations and stuff. But I think of like, it brings to mind, so like ghost stories and stuff. You hear about like people go into these old like abandoned, warehouses or asylums or hospitals or like hotels, wherever it is, and they see like people doing stuff. Like, they'll see like nurses or like hotel clerks or like whatever it is. Just
they're not doing anything sketchy. They're just doing things.
Like they're not doing anything out of the ordinary. It's just that they're not supposed to be there because it's shut down.
Long been abandoned.
Yeah, it's long been abandoned. It's shut down. Nobody's in the building. So then that brings to mind, like, could that be another form of time travel where it's not so much one, like, we think of it as like we're on one plane of time, like we're on one plane of existence. What if there are multiple planes?
Yeah.
But sometimes they can just jump. But because they're not all happening at the same time, when you jump, you end up in a different plane, meaning that you're at a different time. So we're here in 2025, current day. What if on another level they're still 800 BC and they just started? But if we jump over there, we make a parallel jump, but we're now 800 BC because that's where they are.
We did the jumping.
Yeah, or vice versa, where someone jumps over, or somebody like spiritual jumps over, and then we see it as it's a ghost. Yeah. What if it's just somebody doing their daily tasks, but they're just in another time, and they're like, where the heck am I right now? So,
or that gets into another thing, like alternate realities, or like the multiverse type thing, is that it could be like in that area there's like it could be like the same location in the same time period, but it's just a different like plane of
existence.
Like it could be like a different plane or something. Like, and totally not like a legitimate scientific thing, but with like, you ever watch Doctor Strange? How they have like the mirror dimension or like the other dimensions in the dimensions that like don't usually affect the outer dimensions, but they can kind of affect the outer dimensions. Yeah. Like that type of idea of like, well, they're in another dimension, but like for some reason maybe the bridge between the dimensions is thinner there. Yeah. So you get a little bit of like a glimpse into the other dimension. I have no scientific proof for that whatsoever. It's a cool theory.
I think
it's definitely like it could. I don't know.
Yeah, time traveling between different timelines is the line between that and alternate realities and jumping alternate realities is a little blurred.
And like that's where like I think there's two different types of time travel. There's like time travel of just like, oh, I'm going to go back and, like, kill Hitler or something. Yeah. That's just, like... Anyway, I think there's a difference between, like, time travel, like, just going into the future or into the past in, like, our specific time period. Because once you get into things like the multiverse, like, actually, from a biblical perspective, I don't know if that's justified. Like, it's a cool idea, and it's not scientifically proven, but I don't think you can biblically prove that because there's no like
prove that there are different planes.
Prove that there's different planes of existence, like different universes. Which, I mean, it's not outside. We just don't see any of that in the Bible. Like
you can't prove it, but you can say if there's a physical world and a spiritual world, and then we know that there's a heaven and hell, and heaven and hell are outside of our physical
dimension.
Why
so
there
obviously,
be other things?
Right.
Well, and that's another thing is it could be like a spiritual dimension. Like we've talked about, like thin quote unquote places, like Skinwalker Ranch or whatever, where maybe the bridge or the gap between the spiritual and the material is not as big. Like there's more interference there, so to speak. But I just don't know if we could actually defend time, like jumping, and there's a little bit in the weeds from like straight time travel, but once you get into time travel, then you do get into like different universes and different timelines specifically, and that could be a little bit I don't know how far to go. I haven't like done a whole bunch of research on that, but I don't know how far to go on that. And like from a Christian perspective, I don't necessarily think that's. I think we need to be very careful because I don't. Especially saying that I can't disprove that, but I can't prove it, so I think we need to be careful saying, oh, that's real. Whereas like time travel, like time warps or whatever, like the Bruce Gernon guy from the Bermuda Triangle, if you'll remember that, where he like went, or even the USS Cyclops, where they went like faster than they should, like that's totally plausible from just a natural explanation. Yeah. But I think there's a difference between a natural explanation of like having too much power and then you just zap a screw to the other side of the room.
Right.
And I think you also get into a weird, well, I guess the humans did it too. Like there were people on the plane.
Were there things that weren't human on the plane?
I don't know. But I think you get, I don't know about like interdimensional. That's a whole other can of worms. But I don't particularly believe in interdimensional, which will be another thing if we talk about like abductions and fairyland,
right?
All those kind of things. That'll probably come in season 2 of the show. Anyway, that just my thoughts on time travel in general. Definitely a cool idea. I'd like that.
I would agree with that. I also think this is something I've thought about a little bit, is that, like I mentioned earlier, God is outside of time, and that's one of the hardest things to actually comprehend about that idea. And so if we can effectively make ourselves outside of time, it does...
We're effectively making ourselves God.
Yeah, we're devaluing God's attributes in some way, which would be one reason why I would be a lot more hesitant to believe in time travel.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely interesting. Ben, you have any thoughts?
Nope. I said all mine.
All right.
Just that could there be other things out there other than just our view?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a couple more stories here. This is the story of the airman from Tered. On a cold winter morning in 1954, a by all means ordinary-looking man arrived at Haneda Airport inside of Tokyo. However, the question of if this man was even a man at all was soon be raised. Some tell that the man was a man from another dimension, quote. He possessed a passport from the country, quote-unquote, Tered, which doesn't and has never existed. When asked to point out his home nation on a map, he pointed to Andorra. The shell-shocked authorities placed him in a hotel with 2 guards pending further investigation. But, as daylight came, this mysterious man was nowhere to be found. Bolos were put out, and the local area swept. But the man was gone, as if into thin air. Tragically, this too is completely made up. But it is definitely my favorite story out of the bunch. This is the real story. There was this guy, John Allen Kuchar Zegras, in 1959. He arrived in Tokyo.
Can I just say really quick?
Yeah.
That'd be the greatest prank of all time. You walk into a bar, bunch of people are drunk, you point to a map and be like, hey, name's Benjamin. I'm from Tered. And they're like, oh, where's that? You point to a completely different country, and then when they're like, what? You just leave. And then you never see them again.
There have been stories
Great.
Like that, where people do, like, I don't necessarily know if it was drunk people, but,
There was this guy, John Allen Zukar Zegras, in 1959. He arrived in Tokyo as an American tourist, along with his wife, who was from South Korea. 3 months later, the man was arrested by the Tokyo Metropolitan Police under suspicion of identity fraud. He tried to cash out several checks that were later found out to be counterfeit, along with his passport. According to official documentation, Zegers said he was, quote, born in the U.S., moved to the U.K. through Czechoslovakia and Germany, and attended high school there. During World War II, he was a pilot for the Royal Air Force and was once captured by the Germans. After the war, he lived in Latin America. Later, he became a spy for the Americans in South Korea, served as a pilot in Thailand and Vietnam, and after that, he worked for the United Arab Republic. He arrived in Japan for a secret mission, which included recruiting Japanese military volunteers for the United Arab Republic, unquote. The Japanese government later contacted these countries to find out if all of this was malarkey, or if the password stamps were fabricated too. Approximately 7 months after that, he had a court hearing and was sentenced to 1 year in jail. Upon hearing this news, he attempted to cut an artery and kill himself by using a piece of broken glass he smuggled into the courtroom, but alas, this was unsuccessful. After his release, he was deported to Hong Kong, and his wife was deported to South Korea. So then, this story got picked up by The Province, a Canadian newspaper, and the story got distorted into the first step into what it is today. In the August 15th, 1960 issue of The Province, a Canadian newspaper, the story was reported with some, shall we say, alterations. The story was reported with some, shall we say, alterations. In an article titled Man with His Own Country, the newspaper reported that a man named John Allen Zukar Zegers was a naturalized Ethiopian and an intelligence agent for Colonel Nasser, and carried a passport, quote, issued at Tamarasset, the capital of Tared, south of the Sahara. Tared is likely Tuareg misspelled, but Tamarasset is an actual province in Algeria. A text in Tared language, which was written with Latin characters, was also cited by the newspaper, earlier on July 29th in 1960. The story in this form was mentioned in the British House of Commons when it was cited by Robert Matthew as an argument that, quote, passports are not a very good security check. Apparently, the case was once again mentioned in the books by Jacques Berger. According to his version of the story, a person from Tared, a country in eastern Africa, which, quote, stretched from Mauritania to Sudan and included a large port of Algeria, was arrested in 1954 in Japan during a passport check. He was placed in psychiatric hospital where it was revealed that he came to, quote, buy arms for the true Arab Legion. In 1981, the story was mentioned in a book called The Directory of Possibilities by Colin Wilson and John Grant, with Tuareg misspelled as Tared again. Finally, the story I told you at the start was one that was featured on various Japanese websites dedicated to urban legends and occult stories. So this one makes me sad that it's fake, because this is my favorite one. I think it's really interesting, and it'd be really cool if it was real. But, nope.
So, okay, we're gonna go a little bit off topic here. What planet did he say he was from?
Oh, it's
the country of Tared.
Yeah.
Did he say he was from a different planet?
No, I don't think so.
He was a man from another name, but just doesn't have to exist. He pointed to Andorra. Well, then, okay, so I guess for some reason I was thinking he came from another country or from another planet or whatever. But I did look it up. So, and this is where it gets a little bit confusing and a little bit jumbled. So with stories, and we've told this before, like with the Mothman story, like with Injured Cold, he was supposedly from the planet Lanulos, which is located in the Ganymede galaxy. By all accounts, Woody Derenberger did actually meet Injured Cold. Like whoever Injured Cold was, there seems to be no doubt that he was actually real. So then we get into the fact, the question of, was Injured Cold just a creeper? Was he which I don't think he could be human, especially since he emerged from a cylindrical craft.
Yeah.
That was flying by. So there's that. But then that begs the question, if he's not human, then what is he?
Right.
So he claims he's from the planet Lanulos, or Lanulos, whatever, Lanulos, I think, which is located in a different galaxy. The galaxy is actually not real. Ganymede is one of Jupiter's moons, and it's the only moon to have its own magnetic field, and so I guess it makes atmospheric auras. It's also the largest moon in the solar system, which is bigger than the planet Mercury and Pluto.
Wow.
Anyway, point being, if we go on the assumption that from a biblical perspective, Earth is the only planet which has life on it, which I think we can reasonably deduct from the scripture, then anyone claiming to be from a different planet, and especially anyone claiming to be an alien, is likely demonic or spiritual, because they're not from this world. So if it's still within like the created order, because there's nothing outside of creation that can exist. Like there's nothing like breaking into creation, if you know what I mean.
Right. Nothing that God doesn't allow.
Right. So basically, and this is where we get into what's material and what's spiritual. And I think we could, like with Injured Cold, say he is spiritual, say he is a demon coming from a quote-unquote planet Lanulos, which is a different planet in the solar system. That gets into a whole bunch of things, like are the stars angels or the stars demons? Are there really spiritual residences in other galaxies or whatever? But what I'm saying is, if he claimed like time traveler, like what if time travelers, or people who claim to be from another country or another planet that doesn't exist, what if they're just demons that are showing up dressed as people?
Right.
And I mean, obviously, we know demons, like their main goal is to deceive, and what better way to deceive than to just show up claiming to be a time traveler and make everybody believe you're a time traveler? And that's the thing that
that's
we see.
What I always do for like court cases and stuff. I just show up and I'm like, "Hey guys, time traveler," and they're like, "Oh,
see you again, never."
My bad.
Well, and like I said earlier, that's what we see a lot with these high strangeness cases, like the demonic or whatever, is they show up with technology that's just a little bit more advanced than what we have.
Yeah.
And that's their in of them being a quote-unquote higher intelligence or a higher form of life.
Yeah.
And that's the way that they want worship, because that's really what they're going for, is they want worship from being, a higher entity or a higher development. Anyway.
Yeah. Also, crazy thought, a little different. What if... So you know how like Skinwalker Ranch had all the stuff with like the UFOs in the sky, and like it would look up and be like UFOs, and they'd see like stuff in the sky. What if instead of aliens, what if it was the same thing where they're like quote unquote time travelers, and it's actually just humans in futuristic ships, but we don't recognize them as... Because think about it, the guy in the smartphone, we recognize it now because we have it. So we look at that and we're like, oh, it's a smartphone. Like it's weird that it's at that time, but it's nothing actually weird. Back then, if they looked at it and they'd be like, "What is he holding?" They'd be like,
"It's demonic.
That's some crazy alien technology."
Right.
But it's not actually alien technology. It's just 50, 60, 70 years in the future.
Technology. Interesting.
Yeah. What if it's the same thing with like Skinwalker Ranch, where it's not actually alien technology, it's just future technology, and we see the exact same thing, but because we haven't gotten to that part in history where we have that technology, we look at it as like demonic,
crazy stuff.
Like... Yeah, alien technology, and then we're like, oh, like it's aliens. What if it's the exact same thing, that we're just seeing different timelines line up where they're not supposed to be?
Right. So the question is, do the demons have more capabilities manipulating time in like putting, like with the Rosen Bridge, putting two times together and creating a thin spot, or making the display of this crazy stuff?
Well, and see, here's the
one
thing.
Demon is like, "What'd you guys do today?" And he's like, "I created an Einstein bridge." But they're like, "Oh, Jimmy, again! Stop making those.
You
so
gotta
cliche.
stop.
It's old. Everybody knows about him. All right, it was funny at first. Stop it.
Well, and I think coming from like that's definitely. I don't feel like that's out of the realm of possibility. Like if somebody from the 1940s, like that picture we saw an iPhone, they would be like, "Okay, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Like you must be interfering with demons." But I think that's also the play run by the demons.
Yeah.
Is that they're like, oh, they like futuristic technology. Well, then we're going to give them exactly what they want. And so obviously, like it totally could be. We have to assume that time travel exists and that we actually can effectively time travel back and forth into the future.
Right.
So this is where we get off into the weeds from our main, like, does time travel exist part. But if if people want time travel, right?
Yeah.
That's just
It's super cool.
it's super cool. Everybody would time travel.
You go back, you buy a bunch of cars, you drive the cars, and then you sell the cars. And then with that money, you go back and get more cars.
See, literally, all I would need to do is go back to 2010 and buy a butt ton of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I would be a trillionaire.
Yeah.
And game over. I would never need a time machine again.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we need to be careful on, like,
But
obviously.
everybody would do that, and then
Yeah, then it
Bitcoin
would
wouldn't
not
actually
be-
be valuable
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah.
So you'd have to find something that nobody else would get.
Or just be the first person to invent time.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
You're like, I cornered the market. You're like, oh, and what? Like Bitcoin, gold, silver? You're like, nope.
So, all that to say, I think they definitely could be like from the future or whatever. That would have to assume that time travel is real. But I think a much more something we know is real is that the demons like to deceive, and the way they do that is by showing up with technology that's better than ours. And
Right.
like that's the thing of like where we want to see them is where we do see them. You know, like with the meditation guy at Skinwalker Ranch, which I know we mentioned Skinwalker Ranch a lot. It's a big story. We'll have to do that later. It'll be a multi-part thing. Is where like when he's meditating, wanting to see them, or like when what's his face, the Mothman guy, John Keel.
Oh,
he
yeah.
sees like a UFO and he Morse code flashes descend, and sure enough it descends or whatever. Like when you want to see that,
Right.
that's what you'll see, and the demons will latch onto that. And I think Ben touched on this in one of the previous episodes.
I'll say that's what happened on 9/11. There's a dude on the flat. There's a dude on the ground with a flashlight. And he's like, and they're like, gotcha.
So it's the laser pointers that they're shining in the cockpit, and he's just like, no,
got
never
it,
again.
buddy.
Anyway, I think
I made a terrible mistake.
They're like, descend. You got it, buddy.
Anyway, we need to be careful because they will give us what they want to, and I think, Ben, that's what you touched on in, it might have been the Mothman one, or one of the ones where we were talking about legends, where, like, you kind of read into the story, you know, of, oh, this is just a random story. Well, of course, it's weird, but it has to be supernatural, or whatever.
Because it links perfectly to this thing 200 years later.
Right, it links perfectly to that, so we need to be careful of reading in too much. Anyway.
And obviously that trick has worked because the idea of aliens and supernatural things is so ingrained in human culture.
Yeah, well, and I think, it's definitely like something a lot of people want to believe, so I think there's a big opportunity, and especially as America is becoming less and less Christian, I think it's definitely being more of a temptation, essentially. Anyway.
One other fun little tidbit that I liked. I just remember this a little while ago, but there's this theory that during the Transfiguration, when Jesus goes up on the mountain, and Elijah and Moses come, that's actually a time travel phenomenon. Some people believe this, okay?
So he just yoinks them out of their dimension.
Because think about it.
So wait, Joshua is like, hey, Moses, they're complaining about bread again. And he's like, Moses, where are you? Moses! Moses comes back, he's like, okay, so you're never going to guess what just happened here?
I found the Messiah.
Okay, so remember at Youth Leadership last week where he was talking about the similarities between the Mount of Transfiguration and Sinai?
Yeah.
You know how Moses came back with a glowing face?
Yes.
What if
That's exactly why I got this idea.
on
I
Mount
remember.
Sinai, he went up to Sinai, time traveled to the 2,000 years into the future. He was on the Mount of Transfiguration. That was why he was glowing. And then he time traveled back, came down, and that's why his face was glowing and the people were all freaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why would he be glowing?
Because he freaking saw God.
Oh,
I don't know.
Because
time travel takes a lot of energy, and if
Yeah.
you were imbibed with that much energy like Simeon's butt, then maybe you would glow too, okay?
Probably.
Also, top 10 excuse for why you didn't come home. You get home from the bar and your wife's like, honey, where have you been? It's 1 o'clock in the morning. And you're like, you're never going to
Time travel.
Jesus took me to the house.
I was going to the store, and then Jesus took me out of my reality, put me in a bar, and then 7.5 hours later, put me back here in my car.
Dude, it's like Elijah or something. You know when he was with the widow, he's like going out to like get some flour or whatever, and she's like, "Yo, I needed that for dinner." And he's like, "Sorry, I had an appointment in 2,000 years in the future. Don't worry about it." Anyway, that's a great.
That's what I'm saying. He time travels them back in a huge burst of energy, and then they're glowing. And
I 100% believe that now.
Yeah. Basically, that's canon.
Moses is a time traveler.
Yeah.
End of conversation. There we go. It's real.
Yeah. Good night.
But wait, there's more.
The terrifying time slips of Kent. Another time slip incident took place in Kent some years earlier. In 1935, Dr. E.G. Moon,
Or Dr. Eggmoon.
a very down-to-earth Scots physician with a practice in Broadstairs, was at Minster in Thanet, visiting his patient, Lord Carson, who lived at Cleeve Court. After talking to Carson, the doctor left his patient and made his way downstairs into the hallway. His mind was clearly very occupied at the time with the instructions he had given the nurse about the prescription he had left for Carson. At the front door, Dr. Moon hesitated, wondering whether to go back upstairs to have another word with the nurse. It was at this point that the doctor noted that his car was no longer where he had left it in the driveway. In fact, it had been parked alongside a thick yew hedge that was 2 missing. Even the drive down, which he had driven from the main road, was now nothing but a muddy track, and a man was coming towards him. The newcomer at the scene, only 30 yards from Dr. Moon, was rather oddly dressed, wearing an old-fashioned coat with several capes around the shoulders, and he wore a top hat with the kind seen in the previous century. As he walked, he smacked a switch against his riding boots. Over his shoulder, he carried a long-barreled gun. He stared hard at Moon, and the doctor registered the fact that the man was coming towards him might have looked more at home in the 19th century. Remarkably, Dr. Moon seems not, at the time, to have been either alarmed or even mildly surprised by the changed scenery, by the quiet, oddly dressed man approaching him, or the fact that his car was missing. What preoccupied him was the thought of Lord Carson's prescription. He simply turned away, without any concern, to go back into the house. But he did quite casually take one more look at the scene he was now leaving. And now, as if by magic, the car was back where it had been, at the yew hedge, too. The drive was no longer a muddy track, and the man had also disappeared. Back, one assumes, to the previous century. And it was only now that Dr. Moon realized that something decidedly odd, had occurred. All this took seconds, and so there was every reason to understand why Dr. Moon did not immediately go out to the driveway to see where his missing car was. For the same reason, it is understandable why he did not speak to the man dressed like a farm bailiff of the past. Dr. Moon was drawn into some kind of accepting, hallucinatory state. When he came to, for that seems to be the best way of describing his return to his own time, he described to Lady Carson what he thought had occurred. He was anxious, however, that no word of it should come out his lifetime, for the fear that his patients would begin to question his judgment. It was only after his death that the story was revealed. It is difficult to grapple with the notion of time slips. It may be that all past events are impressed into the fabric of buildings, and that in some way and on some occasions that they are released. In other words, what Mrs. Warburton and Dr. Moon saw were ghosts, but not solely of people, but of all their own surroundings. Or did Dr. Moon actually return to a real physical past? Did they turn up as strangers? Were they really the interlopers at somebody else's present? And if so, and this is an intriguing yet unanswerable question, did a man dressed like a farm bailiff walking towards Cleeve Court one day, well over 100 years earlier, see a strangely dressed doctor at the front door of the house? And did the farm bailiff ask himself how the oddly dressed figure in the doorway had so suddenly disappeared? Well, we may never know.